How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Armchair Analysis. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. It is Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. Hope you guys, again, having a great week, having a good day. Going to enjoy the rest of your weekend or week. Really, really pumped for this one. This is our transfer portal catch up kind of video where we just sit back, talk about all the biggest names in the transfer portal, all the things you need to know about where some of the biggest names ended up. Now, I went by position group, and not all of it's gonna seem like it's overly important right away, but I think there are pieces and parts of this that are going to be super important to the 2025 season, and yeah, I, I don't know. Let's just get into it, and then I'll kind of explain what I mean by that. So, I went by position group, and I kind of just picked anywhere from 3 to 8 players in most cases. There are some position groups I didn't mention, but again, all this stuff will be brought up again when I get to your specific teams um, preview, essentially. So, when I get to these previews, I'll talk about all the big names that come in, what the projected starters might look like, and some of the key players for the season. Then we'll preview your season, wins and losses all the way down. So I'm pretty excited for that, and looking forward to seeing what what we can make of it. So with all that said, let's go ahead and again get started. Quarterbacks. Of course, the most recent was Nico Iamaleava leaving UCLA to go to Tennessee, which sparked Joey Aguilar to leave UCLA and go to. Sorry, Nico Iamaleava leaves Tennessee to go to UCLA. Joey Aguilar leaves UCLA to head to Tennessee. Kind of a one-for-one trade, if you will. I don't know if it's much of a trade. I think that it's certainly a one team definitely wins in terms of talent at quarterback, and one team definitely lost a little bit. To be determined who I think that was. Carson Beck leaves Georgia, goes to Miami. That'll be interesting when we get to Miami preview. I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays into the potential of their season. John Mateer leaves Washington State to go to Oklahoma. I think this is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the transfer portal class, and I believe he was rated third. Absolutely. I mean, honestly, this is one of those guys that I'm probably stumping for Heisman. Uh, that doesn't mean I'm going to pick him to win it, but he's a guy that preseason I'm definitely stumping John Mateer for Heisman. Connor Wegman left Texas A&M. He's going to Houston, just down the road. It's going to be interesting because they needed a quarterback bad. How does he fit into the offense that Willie Fritz likes to run? We'll see. Could be a lot of fun though over there in Houston. Miller Moss leaves USC, and there was a lot of question about where he would go after losing the starting job. He lands at Louisville with Jeff Brohm. I look forward to that. Miller Moss and the Brohm offense will be fun. Darian Mensah leaves Tulane to go to Duke. I think that's a big get for Duke, who loses Malik Murphy. He goes to Oregon State. Darian Mensah can do a lot of the same things. He's a little bit more of a run threat, but he can also throw the ball, and I think throw the ball a little better than Malik Murphy. I think Duke improved their quarterback position. Aaron Noland left Ohio State. He transferred to South Carolina. That's big for future. It's not big for 2025. Lenore Sellers is a starter. If he gets hurt like he did last year, though, they have a backup quarterback now. That's the biggest reason that the Aaron Noland transfer into Carolina is as important as it is being played up to be, because they need a backup quarterback. Lenore Sellers is a big part of this offense. His legs are a huge part of this offense. You need somebody you can trust to throw the football in situations where he gets hurt. The LSU game comes to mind, and not just because I was there, but also because we saw Robbie Ashford come in, and it stalled the offense. And then when Norris was hurt and unable to do a lot of the things that he does so well, specifically running the football, it completely killed Carolina's offense and ultimately was a big reason they lost the game. Lastly, Caden Salter leaving Liberty to go to Colorado. I don't know how excited I am or unexcited I am for that. The end result for me, I think, is going to be the same whether he's there or not, and that's a regression of the Colorado football team. Do I think they like fall completely out of like a bowl eligible spot? Not particularly, but I just don't know that I'm not particularly loving Colorado right now, even with the big extension that Coach Prime signed and all this stuff. Just not loving it. So we'll see how that goes this year. I could completely eat my words, but right now I'm pretty middle of the road. Moving on to my running backs. Again, if I missed one of yours, don't worry. It's not that I haven't seen it. It's not that I'm intentionally leaving it out. But we can't talk about everybody. We'd be going for hours. On the running backs, I picked 5. I picked 5 big names that you need to know in 2025. Justice Haynes left Alabama. He's at Michigan. The Michigan backfield is just as good, and the quarterback room improved tremendously. I don't care what a lot of people want to say about Bryce Underwood and his spring game performance or spring practice performance, whatever you want to call it. He's got from now until the fall and then through the fall to improve and put himself in position to be a playoff caliber quarterback. And I think that it's going to happen early. We're going to find out in that Oklahoma game whether or not he's there. But Justice Haynes jumping into that backfield really helps take some of the pressure off. I'm excited for this team, this Michigan team in 2025. I think there's a lot of improvement to come. I don't know if they're a playoff team. I'm going to be honest, I don't know. But I do like the moves that were made. Russell Wilson leaves Utah State to Carolina. He's a number 2 running back in the portal when he chose South Carolina. Jumping in, replacing Raheem Sanders. A big addition for Carolina's offense that's seemingly trying to stay on this level of improvement. I am pumped to see this one, especially in person at some point in 25. Jaden Ott left Cal, goes to Oklahoma, going to join John Mateer in the backfield. Only helps Oklahoma's case as a team that might be a playoff contender. I mean, Jaden Ott might be a Heisman contender as well. He was early last year, and honestly, if he wasn't at Cal, he probably would have been even more in the conversation. Really love the move. C.J. Donaldson left West Virginia to go to Ohio State. A lot of this is due to not being the number 1 running back anymore at West Virginia, but it doesn't mean he's not number one running back anywhere. He can go to Ohio State and he can play a really good brand of football. And they're going to need it. I think there's some things at Ohio State that need to be worked out offensively. Do I think it really matters? No. I think Ohio State's going to be just fine. I think they're going to be playoffs. I don't know about national championship. I don't think Ohio State's a favorite in the national championship picture, at least not for me. But they are a playoff contender, as they always will be. And a lot of it's just, development of quarterback position. Julian Sand, I presume, to be the quarterback, but I could be wrong. And just seeing how they progress. Of course, anytime you got Jeremiah Smith on the field, it's a mismatch. And we're just gonna play it out. We're gonna see how they develop and how they do things. There's another player in this portal class for OSU that I think really adds to the threats that they have on the field. Mekhi Hughes leaves Tulane to go to Oregon. Criminally underrated move here. I think that this is going to be one of those guys that might define the football season for the Ducks. Of course, they're going to be starting presumptively Dante Moore at quarterback, and this is another year of inexperience at that quarterback position where you want somebody at running back who you can trust to make things happen, and Mekhi Hughes does both in the running and passing game. I have a lot of excitement for Big Ten football this year. I think that the reign continues where the Big Ten might go 3 straight national championships. I don't know if it's Oregon. I don't know if it's Ohio State. And I don't know if it's Michigan. We'll see. And yeah, I'm leaving a couple teams out of that conversation that I certainly think I'm leaving one team out of that conversation. I certainly think it's a championship contender. Going on to wide receiver, I picked 5 again here. Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech to Auburn. Auburn sneakily loading up. Do I think it turns them into a true championship contending team? No, not yet. If I see it on the field play out the way it's got potential to, I might change my tune. But for right now, I'm not. But Eric Singleton's a gigantic add to that offense. Deuce Robinson left USC. He goes to Florida State. Florida State's a team that hit the portal heavy. After a 2-10 season, they're disappointed. They went from being pissed about being left out of the playoffs at 13-0 to going 2-10. And you forget what you think about the fan base, forget what you think about how everything ensued following that college football playoff snub, is what we'll call it. You can say whatever you want. The point being, Mike Norvell is back on the hot seat, and it's hotter than it's ever been before. This year is a big year for Florida State and how they go forward. And again, Deuce Robinson is trying to be a part of the change that improves and puts him back in playoff contention. I like the move. I just don't have a full, again, read on Florida State. I'm still working on a lot of those things. Nick Anderson left Oklahoma to go to LSU. He's going to jump into a decent offense and have this opportunity to be maybe a number 1 wide receiver target for Garrett Nussmeier in 2025. I don't know if that's particularly going to be how it plays out, but I think it will certainly be a much needed and a very much welcomed weapon to the offense. Zachariah Branch, I'm gonna branch him together. I'm going to combine this one with Zion Branch, the safety out of USC as well. Brothers, of course, from USC. Both of them transferred to Georgia. My last wide receiver is a group of 5 wide receiver who's jumping up to the Power 5 level, and it's Chase Sowell, coming up from ECU to Iowa State. Iowa State losing Nolan Higgins to the draft. They needed somebody, a big-bodied wide receiver, which is their typical Matt Campbell wide receiver, to jump in, step up, and be the guy. Chase Sowell is your guy, and you can trust that this guy is going to do everything he can to make sure you win football games. I like Iowa State a lot this year. I continue to kind of be on that train. At least early, I like Iowa State a lot. Now, don't come back at me in August when I post my conference predictions and you see Iowa State 6th. I may change my tune. For right now, though, I like where they're at. At tight end, I have 3. Max Clare, Purdue to Ohio State. That's a big addition in the passing game for a guy like Julian Sand, for example. I'm using him as the example because I think that's who it's going to be. Again, I could be wrong. I don't know. Again, I have a lot of research to start doing to make sure I catch myself up with where I should be. But Max Clare, 100%, is a weapon for this offense. Holden Staes comes from Tennessee to Indiana. He's going to play for Coach Cignetti. I think that Indiana is a program that's not necessarily going to go anywhere under Coach Cignetti. They're going to be competitors. They're going to be an 8 to 10 win team. Probably 7 to 10 win team. They'll be competing themselves for playoff spots. They're going to continue to win football games, and the more they do it, the better they're going to look, and the more people are going to want to go there. I like the move. It's a good addition for that offense. And then Amari Niblack. This is a guy that I thought would play a bigger role at Texas. He did, and he got overtook by Gunnar Helm, who was fantastic in the Longhorn offense last year. But he leaves Texas. He's going to Texas A&M. This is his 3rd school. Oftentimes, it doesn't work out that well. I'm going to say that it does. I'm going to say that Amari Niblack does work out at Texas A&M and becomes a potent weapon for their offense. I skipped over offensive line because I'm going to be honest, that's my weak point in terms of evaluation and being able to tell you whether I think somebody's going to be a really good addition or not. And honestly, I didn't see anything that stood out to me personally. So I skipped over it. But we'll talk about offensive lines a lot more when we get to team predictions again in June. Onto the defensive side of the ball, defensive line, I took Damon Wilson the second, Georgia transfer going over to Missouri. It's something that Missouri needed because they needed to replace Williams Nwaneri, who left Missouri to go to Nebraska. They needed somebody to replace him. I think they exceeded in replacing. Then you got Patrick Payton, left Florida State. He's going to LSU. That's a big addition to the defensive line for the Tigers. I only did 3 for defensive line. I didn't see too many that felt like complete game wreckers and game changers to me. As for linebackers, Nakai Hill-Green left Colorado to go to Alabama. Dasan McCullough leaving Oklahoma to Nebraska. That's his third school. Remember, he left Indiana just a couple years ago, maybe even just a year ago, to go to Oklahoma. Didn't get the playing time, didn't fit into that system the way he thought he would. He's leaving, going to Nebraska. I think it's going to be a good fit. I'm excited for that one. Josiah Trotter left West Virginia to go to Missouri. Another big addition for the Tigers of Columbia to their front seven. I think that's kind of their point of failure last year was front seven. I think Elijah Drinkwitz did a really good job of addressing that and trying to put something a little different together this year. I have a lot of excitement for that move specifically. At defensive back, a lot of these guys, actually I think all of these guys are safeties. I already talked about Zion Branch, but we got some others. Dylan Thieneman was arguably my biggest defensive move of the offseason. Leaving Purdue, he's going to Oregon. Big Ten rival. Oregon needed a safety, and they couldn't have got a better one. All-American caliber player. Devonta Smith from Alabama, going to Notre Dame. Going to join the Fighting Irish, replacing Xavier Watts. That's I mean, what can you say? They're pumping out safeties over there in South Bend. King Mack leaves Alabama, going to Penn State. That's going to be an interesting guy to join the Penn State secondary. Penn State's a team that I think is a contender through and through in 2025, and they're going to have to find a way to replace Abdul Carter in the production and the pass rush. Beyond that, there's not many things that Penn State needs to do differently other than maybe improve their pass game. And I think they addressed that very well in the offseason. King Mack's going to be fun to watch in that secondary. Kennedy Urlacher leaves Notre Dame. He's going to USC. I don't love it. I don't really like any defensive player that I think has some potential to go to USC, for example, because we haven't seen USC develop defensive talent. If they do, and if they make that happen, I'll gladly be proven wrong because I really want to see Lincoln Riley succeed out there. I think it makes the sport better to have a guy like Lincoln Riley successful, to have a team like USC be successful. But I'm not going to predict it. It's more of a prove it to me, show me that you can get it done. Those are my players that you need to know. As for the transfer portal top 10, it goes as follows. LSU's at number 1. Texas Tech, Miami, Florida, your top 3. Ole Miss and Oregon, your top 5. And Oregon did this on 11 players. They, by far, the lowest number of transfer portal imports out of the entire class. Out of the entire top 10. Florida State brought in 21 players. Missouri brought in 22. Auburn with 19. North Carolina with 34. They are the most out of the top 10. And then Kentucky with 22. Some notable teams here. South Carolina did a great job of just adjusting and addressing team needs. They brought in 17 players in the portal, pulling them a top 15 ranking. Mississippi State, Arkansas, 16 and 17, brought in 30 and 33 players. Mississippi State brought in 33, Arkansas brought in 30. Two teams that are kind of in a dire mode right now. Jeff Lebby is not going to get the time that I think he needs to turn it around, so he needs to do it sooner rather than later, show a positive change of direction. I think that that's what this whole thing was about with their 33. Arkansas, Sam Pittman saved his job last year. Barely saved his job last year. The portal, this is addressing everything they need to figure out and try to become a competitor game in and game out in the SEC. West Virginia was one of the teams that I saw with a lot of players brought in. They brought in 46. Oklahoma State brought in 36. Those two teams are ranked 32nd and 33rd, respectively. Within the top 50, 9 teams brought in 30 or more transfers through the portal. UCF, Cal, and Wake are the other schools that I haven't already mentioned. UCF with 38, Cal with 31, and Wake with 31. We have 20 total FBS schools bringing in 30 plus transfers. It goes into a whole nother conversation that I really don't want to have today, but it's interesting. The portal era in college football has brought more than enough intrigue to, I think, everybody's mind of what will it look like? How will it progress? How will people look at players that transfer? We've seen, players who've transferred multiple times not succeed at the next level. We've seen players who've transferred multiple times that have turned into a number 1 draft pick, for example, and Cam Ward. There's a lot of ways you could take it, and there's a lot of things you could look at. I think what we need to do is keep an open mind this year. There's a lot of guys who are changing their scenery, and it's either going to work out for the better or it's going to come back and bite them. I don't know what I genuinely believe. Like Connor Wegman, I think the change of scenery is going to be great. Miller Moss, I think, is going to flourish at Louisville. There's guys that I think their change of scenery may not work out for them. Deuce Robinson, for example, is one of them. It's just a really interesting spot to be in. It's an interesting world we live in. The world of college football in the era of the transfer portal. But it's one we have to adjust to. It's one we have to figure out how to bounce through it and how to really best improve our teams. We haven't seen anybody set the groundwork for how to do it yet. Ohio State, you could say, did it, but to be fair to them, a lot of their talent was already there. They filled gaps. Ole Miss tried to put together a full roster, and in doing so, they didn't make it. Ole Miss had a lot of guys that they tried to bring in. Juice Wells, for example, came in to Ole Miss as a first 2-day draft pick. He went undrafted. We've seen so many different things happen, and so many guys make decisions that were worse for wear. We've also seen so many guys improve their career, improve their draft stock, and we've seen so many teams improve themselves. Colorado completely overhauled with Coach Prime coming in, had 70 plus transfers, and ended up being a 4-win team, yes, but they improved off of 1-11. Ole Miss brought in a bunch of transfers last year, setting up for what we thought was going to be a run for a national championship, and they missed the playoff. Whereas Ohio State, again, pays $20 million to retain players, but also pays $20 million to bring in guys like Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Downs and Will Howard. And they become national champions. Notre Dame paid money. They brought in Riley Leonard. They made the national championship, even after losing to Northern Illinois. But then we see other teams who have regressed and regressed in not willingness and a lack of willingness to use the transfer portal, i.e. Clemson, who, even in their regression, still won the ACC. Say what you will about that. It's just a very interesting era of college football, and I think we all need to be open and willing to those changes and the way that that's going to happen. it'll be fun to find out. I genuinely cannot wait to see what ends up happening throughout the course of the rest of what I call the non-playing season. I won't say off season, but the non-playing season. The one thing about college football is it goes year round. It doesn't follow a league calendar. It follows its own schedule, and it'll happen the way it needs to and the way it wants to. But I think we're all excited and we all look forward to it, no matter how much we say we hate it. I thank you guys for tuning in. I hope if you got this far, you leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know who you're most excited for on your team in the transfer portal. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Another college football episode. I'm recording this on Sunday, Monday morning at 1:53 a.m. I don't know what Thursday's episode will be because I'm going to set it up and record it Wednesday. But whatever it is, it's going to be a lot of fun and it's going to be really exciting. So I hope you guys are here to tune in for it. And again, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. All that stuff's free. It's just a better way to help me out, understand what I can do better, and help me understand what kind of content you guys like. So thank you all, and I will see you in the next one.